Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, namaste. Hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. Hope you're well today. If you haven't been here before, thanks for joining us. This is Ken at 10, where we discuss property news all across the UK, more specifically here in southwest London, and talk about the headlines and what's going on both locally, nationally, and of course the weather. Chilly this morning, but most of the wind seems to have gone away. So here in SW16, it's kind of grey and overcast, and a little bit like, oh, really? Aren't we at spring yet? Really? Clocks do spring forward in about a month's time, don't they? Sort of towards the end of March. So not long now, about a month. And that should happen. We're starting to see lighter mornings, though, aren't we? Which is a good thing. Hopefully the sunshine will come back soon. So how are you? Hope you're well. We've got a couple of great take-ons this week coming on. We've got a couple of auction lots, one high-end prestige home coming to market, and some other instructions coming through. So busy, lots of viewings going on and lots of activity in the housing market. As you can see from the ticker at the bottom there, the average cost of a London home is now 667,000. That's stats courtesy of Rightmove. And I'll run through those individual stats at the moment. By the way, I should say, if you haven't been here before, we're James Alexander. It's Ken at 10 because I'm Ken, it's 10. And we broadcast every day all about property, but we're also agents. So, you know, we're at the coalface here in SW16, a place called Norbury, which is situated between Streatham to the north and Croydon to the south. And we sell and let properties and have done for many years, hence why I have no hair. February's house price index. This is something I wanted to run through for you. This is from Rightmove. In fact, I just got a message back from Tim Bannister, fantastic guy, and he's the head of property data there. So I'm hoping to get him on the podcast. He's a bit reluctant to come on, but he did say we could have a chat and go through his analysis and things, which would be interesting. Just a few headlines from that. This is the price of property coming to market has risen by 2.3% across the capital this month, and that's to by £7,785, and that's to a record of £348,804. Different for the figure you see below, because of course we're talking about London versus the UK. Prices are now 9.5% higher than a year ago, the highest annual rate of growth since September 14. There are signs that both buyers and sellers fear missing out on the current market. There are more potential buyers sending inquiries to agents, with 16% higher numbers than the year before. New listings are up 11% compared to this time last year, suggesting more sellers are coming to market looking for a property to purchase as well to avoid missing out on their next home. And the number of people requesting evaluation is up 11%. And London has recorded its biggest annual jump. And that's the interesting one. And that's the ticker headline you see there. And that's the highest annual rate of price growth since 2016, as the end of the pandemic restrictions abate and we start to get back to an inverted commas normal market, where London is at the top, most in demand, where we should be. I know for some of the regions this has been a fantastic leveling exercise of pricing for some of the outer areas, but I'm also sure some of those holiday regions would rather it got back to normal, because they've had enough of us tourists coming up and snapping up their properties and causing their property values to rise and their own families not be able to buy in their own areas. Apart from that, we got an article saying the majority of house hunters say lack of stock is negatively affecting their search. Well, of course they would. And it's that, you know, if you've got plenty of activity in the market, that's great if you're a seller. It's awful if you're a buyer. Very frustrating. And, you know, you have to feel for buyers. You know, a lot of the time they come to us and by this time they feel sort of weary and weathered by it all, maybe lost one or two already and hoping not to lose the next one. You know, I spoke yesterday about what you can do to make sure that you are the one, you know, the one that remember when you're looking at houses through an agent, that the agent will make a judgment about you. I know we shouldn't make judgments about people, we shouldn't assume anything, but the reality is that you'll probably be one of several offers that come in. And if you're one of several offers, you need to make sure that you're at front of that queue. How do you get at the front? Make sure you've got the information available when requested. You know, we need copies of ID. Identification is so important these days for anti-money laundering rules. That's your passport, your driving license, perhaps a utility bill. Money, we want to see it. If you say you've got an amount of money in the bank, we want evidence of that. We want to see evidence of what mortgage arrangements you have, how confident you are in those, and also to relate to the seller, what kind of people you are. You know, we had a situation yesterday where the client was looking at a buy-to-let investor versus a family, and the offers were very, very similar. And in the end, their conscience took them to the family. The family on paper was a slightly worse buyer than the investor buyer, but their conscience took them in the direction of getting it to a nice family, so it could be a family home. And that sometimes happens. So don't forget to, you know, reveal your circumstances if they're a positive situation that might impact on the agent or the owner relating that and ending up getting you what you need. Cladding. Gove says that foreign firms are shirking the cost of the cladding crisis. Well, we expected this, didn't we? A lot of the builders, these are big companies, big money, and it moves around quickly and they duck and dive. Many of the builders that build these big buildings have actually gone bust. So, the idea that they're all going to pay it back, it just doesn't really work in practice. He does say that he's going to make sure that they don't shirk their responsibilities. Well, it's too late for many, but I do hope that he catches up with the ones that are at fault. Market success may push investors towards small businesses. Now, this is the paradox, is that when the first-time buyer and second-timer market is busy, then what happens is the investors have nothing to buy because there's nothing with a margin on, because nobody's selling cheap, because why would you? The market's buoyant, so you can get a strong price. And so what happens is that many people that are the businesses that come to buy properties to do them up to then resell them, there's literally no margin in it because the market is so strong. So they're finding that they're looking to turn to investing elsewhere, according to City AM, such as small businesses, small, medium-sized enterprises. House owners will find it easier to get info on homes. This is one from The Independent. Property listings to include more key details to make it easier for house hunters to discover essential information, according to national trading standards. They said council tax bands and tenure information for sales must be included along with house prices. Experts believe that transparency could save money and reduce sales falling through. Yeah, I do think it's important that everything's disclosed in the first place. We always make sure that everyone's sure of the current circumstances before they make an offer, if there is anything like service charge or leases to be considered. So the more information you can submit in advance, the better. And a good example of that is auctions. A couple of auction lots coming up, and what we do there is what we call a pre-sales pack, where all the questions that your solicitor would usually ask is actually in that pack before anything else. So literally you can request and download the pre-sellers pack, and that will answer all the questions such as, have there been any disputes with neighbours? Are there any planning issues? All the usual questions that your solicitor would ask for you, they're all in the pack, ready and waiting for you, so that you can bid at auction. But auction's not for everybody. It is a game that you need to be careful of. Many, many times we get people and say, oh, I want to buy that property that you've got coming up in the auction. Well, most properties that are coming up in the auction, you're going to have to buy on auction terms. And that means that even if you were to make an offer, which, by the way, would have to be substantially above the guide price, and it were to be accepted, it would be on auction terms, which means it would have to be exchange immediately with completion within 28 days. And of course, that's a bridge too far for most first timers. And also, you need to be very careful. You do need to know what you're doing, because sometimes auction lots are sold that way because there's an issue that's not easy to resolve. Most of the time, most agents are transparent enough to echo if there's anything that they're aware of, but you can never be sure. So do be extra careful if you're buying at auction. The risk for you, if you are someone that's considering auction for the first time, is, of course, that you pay for that survey and someone comes along and outbids you on the day. It can happen. It happens all the time. There's nothing you can do about it. But from a seller's perspective, they can be interesting if you just want clean out. What I mean by that is the beauty of that hammer down exchange of contracts has actually taken place when that hammer's gone down, even be it a virtual hammer. Then at that point, the deal is sealed. No one can gazump you, no one can outbid you. And there is a thing of beauty about that, isn't there? Whereas traditionally, if we go to the normal market, you'll find that it takes 8 to 12 weeks just to get to that stage. So certainly something exciting about auctions, but they are very different. If you do want specialist advice on that, we're always here for you. We got your back, as always. Hope you're having a great day today. Apart from that, busy day on valuations today, which is great. Love to get out around people's houses and give them an idea of what they're worth, what they can do to enhance the value, what they shouldn't do. And, it's always nice when you see people early. I've got one today where they've been considering doing various building works. And I love to see those people before they go ahead and do the works, because so often people spend too much money and you end up in this position where it's an awkward conversation saying, well, actually, you should have saved your money. Quote of the week this week: I'm fed up with old men dreaming up wars for young men to die in. Putin's gone in, hasn't he? He's gone in last night. We knew he'd wait until Xi had finished with the Winter Olympics because he's his only friend, and he couldn't afford to upstage him. Now that's happened. It's all about him and his ego, and sadly, many people will die. I hope it comes to an end relatively quickly, and I hope too many lives aren't lost, but I do fear the worst over there. I don't think he's going to abate anytime soon, regardless of the idea of dialogue. Very frustrating. In terms of the wider market going forwards, it's very difficult to know, isn't it? With the end of the pandemic, things unlocking, and Boris Johnson announcing the fact that, everything is now ending, it does look like we are getting towards the light at the end of the tunnel. But who knows? That can turn around quickly. We know that from the last lockdown, don't we? Let's hope it doesn't. It's certainly, the stats look good, and that will help with the market. And then facing that, against that, we have interest rates. They're likely to rise this year. All sorts of pressures against the market as well in terms of house prices. The higher they creep, of course, the harder it is then for people to get into the market. You know, I've always said we're not great fans of having the market fly away because it does no one any favors. In the medium term, what happens is house prices go out of reach of the average buyer. And when that happens, then the market slows down, if not dives. And nobody wants that. What we want is a steady market with a slow rate of increase, because that's in everyone's interest. Keep the confidence high, keep the turnover high, but also keep affordability there. That's what's really needed, especially in inflationary times. But yeah, that's it for today. That's my views. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back same time tomorrow with another edition. Until then, look after yourselves, and if you can, your family and friends, and we'll see you soon. Ciao.